We've got breaking news for you. Emergency crews responding to a devastating and active row house fire in Philadelphia. 13 people reported killed. Let's go ahead and listen to fire officials and the mayor who are on the scene.
Losing so many kids is just devastating. So I want to turn it over to Deputy Commissioner Murphy for the details on the incident. And again, keep these babies in your prayers.
That's okay. To say he had a loss of words is an understatement. As the mayor said, this is like just punch you in the gut. I mean, children, people in the community. It's just tragic. I'm just, I don't know what to say. This is just so sad. We just have to make sure, follow everything, recommendation from the fire department, provide safety, but every now and then, in spite of what you do, tragedy happens, and that happens today. And we're just praying for the family, praying for the block, praying for everybody involved, and I just want to thank Mayor, Philadelphia Fire Department, Police Department for their response. We'll just have to get through this, another tragic day and a very difficult couple of years.
President Clark, what did happen? How did this happen?
Well, I believe that the police, the fire department, and the police are going to give you a scenario, let them do what they do. But God bless everyone.
Good morning. It's a sad, sad day for both the Philadelphia Fire Department and the citizens of the city of Philadelphia. At 0638 this morning, companies responded to 869 North 23rd Street. Upon arrival, they found heavy fire emanating from the front of a three-story row dwelling on the second floor. Companies began an aggressive attack on the fire, and in the process discovered that there were multiple fatalities at this location. The fire was extinguished, and it was terrible. I've been around for 35 years now, and this is probably one of the worst fires I've ever been to. We are working with the fire marshal's office. We plan on and intend on getting a cause for this fire. We plan on getting to making sure that this tremendous loss of life did not happen in vain. As for right now, that number is dynamic because there's still an ongoing recovery effort inside via the fire marshal and the ATF. And that number sits right now at 13. We also had 8 people self-evacuate. This dwelling was a duplex. The first floor had the first floor and the rear of the second floor, and the second floor had the front of the second floor and the third floor. I don't have the words for how we're feeling right now as a community and as a department. We also transported Philadelphia Fire Department EMS, transported 2 other occupants to one to Children's Hospital, obviously a child, and then the other to Temple University Hospital. So as of right now, the fire marshal, along with the ATF, like I mentioned before, are in the process of doing a thorough investigation of this terrible event.
Do you have evidence of smoke detectors in that building or fire safety equipment?
There were 4 smoke detectors in that building, and none of them operated.
None of them operated at all?
Can you confirm this was a PHA, Philadelphia Housing Authority owned home?
Absolutely, it was.
Are you aware of any inspections by the Philadelphia Housing Authority? When were those inspections?
Sure. So there was an inspection done by the Philadelphia Housing Authority in 2019. When they went out in 2019, they installed 4 smoke detectors. And there was another inspection in 2020. And when they went out at that time, they installed 2 smoke detectors.
2 more? 2 additional smoke detectors? So at 2020, you had 6 working smoke detectors during that last inspection?
According to PHA, yes.
They hardwired smoke
13
detectors?
who passed away. How many were children and how many were adults? Can you break down?
Walter, remember that number's dynamic right now, but as of what we know, 7 children.
Now, how many, are you aware, and have you got a number of how many people were actually living in these 2 units?
So, and this number's preliminary as well.
I understand.
So the first floor, we're getting reports that 8 people lived in the first floor unit, and this number is very dynamic. The second, and when I say first floor unit, I mean first and a half of second. So the second and third floor unit, that number was 18.
So 18 people have been living in the second and third floor of that building. Is 18 over any amount that would be allowed?
I can't really answer that question. That's an L&I, that's a license and inspection question on occupancy. But that is a tremendous amount of people to be living in a duplex.
Were the smoke detectors battery powered or hardwired? Should there have been an alarm system hardwired with that many people in an apartment building like that?
No, they were battery operated, and they were 10-year lithium batteries in these smoke detectors. They weren't hardwired.
But did not operate.
Where the fire started? Any indication of where the fire?
Too early, Walter. Too early there. That's information that we're gathering right now.
And now, any difficulties, can you talk about any of the difficulties of getting people out of this home? I mean, egress windows, any of those sort of things. What can you tell us why it was so difficult to get people out?
So, in all honesty, it really wasn't difficult to get people out. They got people out very quickly. The 2 that were transported to those local hospitals were immediately transported and taken to hospital by our members. So when they got to them, they were able to remove them.
There are unconfirmed reports online or on social media that there was problems getting through dispatch that may have slowed the response. Do you know of anything like that?
No.
Why do you think the loss of life was so dramatic, so quick? You get here and you find them. What's going on?
There was heavy fire, and what would be for them the kitchen area, the front of the second floor, and then there was an open stairwell to the third floor. So the only thing that was slowing that fire down from moving was nothing slowing that fire down from moving. That fire was moving.
What's it feeding on? Is there any particular substance in there it's feeding on?
It's feeding on contents, it's feeding on oxygen, and it's feeding on fire.
Chief, is it considered suspicious just as a standard procedure to look at this, or how do you label this right now?
It's under investigation from the fire marshal's office right now. It's not necessarily considered suspicious, but we have all hands on deck because of the magnitude of this fire.
Mayor Kenny, you're the son of a firefighter. Yeah. Firefighting's in your blood. What's your thought right now, especially being a dad with kids?
Well, I know, and when I was growing up and my father was on a job where there was a loss of life, especially a loss of life of children, he would basically lock himself in his bedroom for a couple of days, and my mother would say, don't go near the door because he's grieving. So I think that all of our firefighters, our police officers, our first responders, many have children, and look at these children and these folks the way they look at their own families, and are absorbing this and trying to deal with it.
Mayor Chief, do you know the ages of those 8 children
No, I
that were
don't. I
killed
don't
in
know.
the ranges?
No, I don't.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Mayor,
Chief, do you know
what's
how
your
many
view that this was a public house? This was public housing.
Yeah, I mean,
where this has happened.
the city obviously doesn't run PHA, but the other thing too is you talk about the number of people in the house. Sometimes it's better for people to be indoors than on the street. So don't know the circumstances of each and every family, and maybe there were relatives or people that needed to be sheltered. I mean, and obviously the tragedy happened, and we all mourn for it. But we can't make judgment on the number of people living in a house because sometimes people just need to be indoors.
Obviously, there was a problem with the smoke detectors, however. They did not operate.
And then the ATF and our people will figure that out and make recommendations and issue a report. But
Chief, do you know how many exits there were of that house besides the front door? Is there any other way to get out? If you could step up to the...
So other than the front door and the rear entrance, because of the odd configuration of the house, all I know of is 2 exits.
You said there were smoke detector inspections in 2019, 2020. Why was there no inspection in 2021?
That's I wouldn't have the answer. So let me be painfully clear that we're in the process of investigating this to the highest level that we can. We're incorporating all of our resources, both citywide, the Office of Emergency Management, PECO, the gas company, all our partner agencies are involved in finding out as much as we can about this fire. Other than that, we are having our fire marshal investigate this. And right now, that's all the information that we have right now.
Chief, can you
Where
walk
were the majority of the bodies that you found?
That's under.
Speak to that at all?
I really can't.
Chief,
I
can
really
you walk
can't.
us through the recovery, like when you came on the scene, what firefighters saw?
So they were in the process of extinguishing fire, and I can't go into details. They were in the process of extinguishing fire.
All right, folks, we got
This time,
just one more question. One more question.
Is the ATF the lead? Fire marshal the lead? Who's the lead in terms
Philadelphia
of
Fire Department Fire Marshal's Office.
the lead?
All right.
Can you give
Thank
us
you.
some
We'll be
safety-
updating everyone soon, okay? Through we'll be doing an update, okay? All right.
Thank you.
Just an absolutely devastating breaking news story out of Philadelphia here. This is the Fairmont community there in Philly where a massive row house fire took place. Firefighters there saying it started about 6:38 a.m. this morning. Here's what we can tell you so far. 13 people have died in this fire. You heard from fire authorities there saying that the fire seemed to open up in a kitchen and just started working its way up to 3 floors of that row house. Half of the people so far have died in that fire. Half of the people that were living in that government housing facility. You heard from the deputy commissioner saying just keep those babies in your prayers. Out of those 13 people that have died, 7, according to firefighters, were children. It's still an ongoing recovery effort, which means there could be more fatalities. More people possibly could have died in this house fire. And as we heard the details, something else that was just gut-wrenching. There were 4 smoke detectors in that building. You heard from fire officials right there saying none of those smoke detectors were working. In addition to that, you heard one of the reporters ask, when was the last inspection? Another very sad detail to what has turned out to be a fatal fire, and that is the last inspection that was made in that public housing facility was in 2020. 2020 was the last inspection. 4 smoke detectors were in that building. None of those smoke detectors worked. 26 people living on the 3 floors of that row house in that Philly neighborhood, the Fairmont community, half of those people reported dead right now. The cause of that fire is still unknown. You heard from fire officials saying they are going to do their hardest in a full-fledged investigation to find out what went wrong and why those smoke detectors weren't working, how that fire started, and why so many people had to lose their life. Even hearing from fire officials saying they're one of the lead firefighters at the mic saying in 35 years of fighting fires in Philly, this is probably the worst fire he has ever been to. Just imagine coming onto the scene, fully engulfed in flames. As they're fighting that fire, they start coming across the fatalities. 7 of those fatalities, children. We'll continue to follow all the latest details in this devastating fire in Philadelphia. I am Kira Phillips. Thank you for joining us. We will continue to follow all the details as this fire is still active.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.